Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. God King by Feng. Let's proceed with the handover. Luo Feng looked towards God King by Feng by his side. God King by Feng nodded slightly, and his body transformed, splitting into 36 avatars. Let's go, I'll lead the way. Luo Feng also divided himself into 36 avatars, and went to different entrances of the Heavenly Pillar realm to carry out the handover. Clone techniques of the time Primordial Tao, Origin Tao of Space, Great Tao of Life Origin, and Origin Tao of the Infinite all exist, but each has its differences. The clone technique of the time lineage, including the original self, can only create 3 avatars, representing past, present, and future. Yet each avatar has a complete physical body and soul, with peak strength as if 3 complete selves were confronting the enemy. Moreover, these 3 selves could exist on different timelines. The path of space is similar, with a limited number of powerful avatars that can be cultivated, each maintaining a complete physical body and soul. The paths of life and infinity are different. For the path of life, the number of avatars is unlimited, but they are all split from oneself. For instance, Luo Feng has only one powerful soul, and as he divides part of it, the divided soul is considerably weaker. He can only control a finite number of world life forms. The more he splits, the weaker he becomes. The path of infinity is the same, while it claims infinity, it is still unique. This has already made other paths envious. Destruction, extreme point, causality, matter, world, typically can't cultivate clone techniques. Like Yuan's illusionary avatar, it is actually a technique from the Void Realm Tao, a great Tao not present in the land of origin. The path Yuan is now on, the unity of illusion and reality, is also a fusion path that aims to unite the Void Realm Tao and World Tao. However, this path is even more difficult than Luo Feng's. The bases of life and destruction that Luo Feng regards as fundamental are based on complete great Taos. Yuan's illusory path has nothing to reference. To seek unity. Naturally, it is even more elusive and beyond reach. Brother Luo I entrust you with the garrison duty from now on, God King by Feng said with a smile after completing the handover with Luo Feng. Being a garrison commander here might put you in some tough spots. You'll have to bear with it. I understand, Luo Feng nodded with a smile. The Heavenly Pillar realm, viewed as the first treasure land, allows at most a guest elder to be a garrison commander, while the true exploration deep into the Heavenly Pillar realm is done by the high-ranking members of the 2 great imperial clans. Numerous members of the 2 imperial clans practice the primordial bloodline, and many have bad tempers. God King by Feng nodded and then flew away. Luo Feng watched him leave. God King by Feng and Emperor Xian are close friends in life and death, and he has completely joined the flame-wind ancient country. But it seems he has also endured quite a bit of mistreatment, Luo Feng thought to himself. The guest elder godly kings in the flame-wind ancient country royal family, who are made use of, all extraordinary. After all, the flame-wind ancient country royal family doesn't care for the weak. In terms of strength, God King by Feng is comparable to King Qiandu and Emperor Gui Shu, his reputation grand and far-reaching. Of course, from an outsider's perspective. Luo Feng, at the first realm of Godly King, was already able to match the master of the Shi Kingdom. Now at the second realm of Godly King, and with the number of avatars he has, he shouldn't be far behind God King by Feng and Emperor Gui Shu. Most importantly, Luo Feng's rise has been rapid with immense potential. Emperors and monarchs must pay him attention. Emperor Yang, Di Shi, and Di Wu targeted Luo Feng not only because of his feud with Emperor Chu, but also because they felt the threat Luo Feng represented. Thus, they wanted to strip him of his guest elder status, preventing Luo Feng from obtaining certain opportunities. However, Di Fu appointed Luo Feng to garrison the Heavenly Pillar realm. The ruling emperor holds the greatest power. His bias in favor of Luo Feng meant that Emperor Yang and others were helpless. Luo Feng maneuvered the array plate he received from the handover, with the terrifying might of the formation enveloping the surroundings. The 36 auxiliary formations are integrated with the central core formation, which is primarily controlled by Emperor Xian. Luo Feng felt, I can only guide and manipulate the might of the formation. With the power of the formation, I can suppress the likes of Emperor Gui Shu and Wu Xin God King. Luo Feng confirmed this. The formation of the flame-wind ancient country in the first treasure land is also the most powerful. Only if the team from the reincarnation tower proceeds with leaders like the Wind City Empress or the Earth God King can they withstand the formation and move forward. But by doing so, the garrison commanders and monarchs of the two ancient countries will also join the battle immediately. The combined might of the two, along with the formation, can only be imagined. Search * the novel F.I.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Although I am a garrison commander, I dare not let cultivators enter on my own. Since Emperor Xian, as the controller of the formation, can sense everything happening here, the use of Luo Feng was only to make it exponentially harder for outsiders to break the formation. Without a garrison commander, a fixed formation plate would be much easier to crack. With a garrison commander carrying it, one must first kill the garrison commander. Protected by the formidable formation, killing Luo Feng's avatar, who has reached the second realm of Godly King, would be notably difficult. According to the information from my master, the greatest opportunity on the outskirts of the heavenly pillar realm are those 36 pillars. With a thought, Luo Feng divided out an avatar and flew towards a towering heavenly pillar in the distance. The pillar extended high, with no end in sight. Luo Feng landed in front of this pillar and immediately noticed a figure in purple armor not far away. Yano Demon King. Luo Feng recognized the figure at a glance. Yano Demon King, also a top 3 powerhouse among the guest elder godly kings of the Thunder ancient country, follows the path of destruction and cultivates the primordial bloodline. His strength is extremely formidable, and he is highly valued by the Thunder ancient country. Yano God King looked up at Luo Feng. Luo he God King, Yano God King said with a faint smile. Despite his pride, he dared not underestimate this Luo he God King. The momentum of Luo he God King was indeed terrifying, and many of the ancient and powerful beings in the land of origin believed that Luo he God King was likely to reach the level comparable to emperors. Yano Demon King, Luo Feng nodded in return, then carefully examined the towering heavenly pillar. Countless secret patterns spread over this heavenly pillar. Luo Feng watched intently. Boom. As Luo Feng observed, the spreading secret patterns transformed into a giant axe that seemed boundless and endless. The axe was so vast that Luo Feng could only see a part of it, yet he felt as though it could split all rules and cleave through everything. Luo Feng was utterly astounded. He watched spellbound for several days before finally stopping. This axe's vision indeed far surpasses that of a complete origin great Tao, Luo Feng thought. It has a hint of the flavor of the Star Tower's blood-colored scales. However, the patterns on the Star Tower's scales are more vast and detailed, requiring the will beyond the Godly King level just to observe them. As for this heavenly pillar, it feels like the will at the ultimate realm of the God King is sufficient to observe it, and the patterns seem more rudimentary and casual. Luo Feng could tell at a glance that about 3,600 intertwining secret patterns had led him to the vision of the giant axe diagram. The patterns were far simpler than those of the blood-colored scales of the Star Tower. But the vision was extremely profound, and the pressure to observe was relatively small. A normal cultivator of the second realm of Godly King level from the land of origin could see this hidden scene of the heavenly pillar. This axe, it feels like the path of destruction. Only much more profound. In the future, I can contemplate it further. Luo Feng wasn't in a hurry to immerse himself. His main focus now was on the 24 forms, and the most urgent matter was to achieve a breakthrough for the world life form as quickly as possible. Such a scene, far surpassing a complete origin great Tao, and with such simple patterns, would undoubtedly be much harder to comprehend than to understand a complete origin great Tao. This was also the reason why the two imperial clans were willing to let guest elders observe it. It was tough to make significant discoveries. To gain even a sliver of understanding and to create a formidable secret technique would already be quite an achievement. Luo Feng successively watched 36 heavenly pillars, each wrapped in secret patterns, and his spiritual will was clear enough to discern the final vision that the secret patterns transformed into. Sometimes it was a giant axe that split everything. Sometimes it was an endless raging river. Sometimes it was a strange cube. Sometimes it was a flaming lotus. Every scene, the vision was beyond the great Tao. I heard that once one comprehends a complete origin great Tao, there are no clear guidelines anymore, one must grope in the dark, Luo Feng thought. These 36 heavenly pillars are probably like a lamp in the darkness, guiding the way. These 36 heavenly pillars were primarily related to the 9 origin great Taos of the land of origin, such as the Tao of life and the path of destruction, with 4 pillars each. Senior Yuan truly put in great effort. Luo Feng could feel the goodwill this predecessor had towards later generation cultivators. Asterisk 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 asterisk. After briefly exploring the outer regions of the heavenly pillar realm, Luo Feng settled down to garrison the area and focused on his cultivation. Eons passed by. Hoo. 2 figures flew into the formation, their command tokens resonating with the formation, encountering no resistance. Luo Feng, responsible for the garrison, looked up. So it's Luo he God King on duty, one of the figures said with a smile. Luo Feng smiled as well. Qianmu God King, long time no see. When he first went to the treasure land Infinite Space, he met Qianmu God King. As a member of the Flame Wind ancient country royal family, Qianmu God King was very friendly towards him, which was quite rare, so Luo Feng remembered it vividly. We are fated to meet. When Luo he God King ventured to the Infinite Space, he was at the primal chaos realm. At that time, I was just at the first realm of Godly King, Qianmu God King said with a smile. Now Luo he God King has reached the second realm of Godly King, while I am still at the first realm. Qianmu God King felt somewhat wistful. He had access to far better resources than Luo Feng, able to enter many treasure lands and obtain many precious resources. He didn't want to use his primordial bloodline at the first realm of Godly King. He desired to reach the second realm of Godly King first and resort to using the primordial bloodline only if he hit an absolute bottleneck. Qianmu, let's go. Another emperor-level existence of the royal family God King in the second realm frowned and snapped. He couldn't be bothered to exchange a word with Luo Feng. Goodbye. Qianmu God King bid farewell to Luo Feng and left with his companion. Luo Feng watched them leave. In the blink of an eye, Luo Feng had garrisoned the heavenly pillar realm for 27 eons. During this time, 2 royal family God Kings from the Flame Wind ancient country entered, and 3 royal family God Kings from the Thunder ancient country also entered. The royal family God Kings from the Thunder ancient country barely glanced at Luo Feng and disdainfully entered the depths of the heavenly pillar realm without a word. I always heard that the royal family God Kings of the Thunder ancient country generally cultivated the primordial bloodline, and some royals treated all non-royals like servants, Luo Feng mused privately. Compared to them, the Flame Wind ancient country seems slightly better. In these tranquil years, he gradually comprehended each of the 24 forms. As his understanding deepened, the later stages became quicker, until he finally comprehended them all. It is done. In this moment, all avatars of Luo Feng scattered across infinite space, Dream Domain, Heavenly Pillar Realm, the Primordial Cosmos region, and Huyang City smiled simultaneously. Huyang City, city owner's mansion quiet room, inside the Star Tower. A vast and imposing body of Luo Feng sat cross-legged. Since his spiritual will surpassed the limits of a godly king, the world life form had begun to grow again. Both the perfect divine body and the demonic clan avatar had growth limits. However, the world life form was unique. As long as Luo Feng's consciousness could control it, it could continue to enhance. Now, this world life form was still growing, never reaching the limit of what his spiritual will could endure. Finally figured out the 24 forms. Breakthrough. Luo Feng had been waiting for this day for too long. After the breakthrough of spiritual will, he was confident in killing the master of the Shi Kingdom. Yet, Luo Feng had been enduring. Because killing the 3 masters of the Shi Kingdom, once he revealed himself, he would not be confident in surviving an encirclement by some beings at the Emperor tier. For instance, the groups of Di Yang, Di Shi, and Di Wu, who had many treasures and combined were more fearsome than Emperor Ming. Previously, Luo Feng with only a spiritual will advantage truly wasn't confident in resisting those three. So, he patiently waited until this moment today. Condense. At this moment, Luo Feng's vast world life form stretched out its hand, changing the basic structure of the power of the world, transforming from the crude 10 directions world form into the 24 forms. In the 10 directions world form, each life unit needed just 10 particles to form a micro-world. In the 24 forms, each life unit required exactly 240 particles, forming a combination of 24 spaces perfectly, increasing stability by untold magnitudes. A complete qualitative change. Beautiful. After condensing a life unit in his palm, Luo Feng smiled and began increasing the proportions. Millions at once, billions. Luo Feng's vast soul, with a powerful spiritual will, made the transformation highly efficient. However, this time, Luo Feng's world life form's energy reserves were extremely vast. Luo Feng converted with all his might, but still used 32 days to successfully transform the entire true body of this world life form. Avatars, stationed in places like the Dream Domain, Heavenly Pillar Realm, Chu Capital, and Xiangjie City, also quietly transformed their bodies, which being smaller in energy reserves, converted much faster. Succeeded. Luo Feng stood up within this layer of the Star Tower. I feel like it's easier to control my physical body after the life form's transformation. Luo Feng could feel that his world life form in the 10 directions world form was loose and hard to handle. The world life form of the 24 forms had much tighter life units, and was easier to control. It was as if on Earth, a 200-pound obese person struggled to walk, while a 200-pound athlete, all muscle and lean-looking, had speed, strength, and explosive power. With the previous world life form, its energy reserves were about 29 times that of the perfect divine body. Using my spiritual will to control it felt a bit cumbersome, able to perform moves only at the threshold of the second realm of Godly King. Now, the 24 forms, with the same energy reserves, is easy to control, and I can even effortlessly perform my strongest Great Extinction style. This body can still grow significantly. Luo Feng's body naturally formed a black robe, still in the shape of the 24 forms. Boom. With a slight release of his aura, Luo Feng caused the surrounding void to begin collapsing, layer by layer of space naturally falling in until only the membrane wall of the source world remained. The rules of heaven and earth around him naturally changed. Such powerful strength. I feel that my physical body is probably not inferior to my master now. Luo Feng had seen his master, Emperor Chu, and also Emperor Xian. In terms of artistic conception, my current world life form still falls a bit short of their ultimate realm perfection. But my world life form is too large. The advantage in quantity is enough to compensate for some quality disparities. Finally touched the Emperor tier status, Luo Feng reflected solemnly. Previously, my own body was too weak. One strike would crush me to dust, even relying on the life recovery power would only resist a couple more strikes. The life lotus is also growing. Luo Feng observed his inner world. As the range of the inner world expanded thousands of folds, the life lotus naturally could continue growing, also enhancing the stability of the inner world and the life force of the body. My world life form has enhanced, and my inner world has expanded. To nurture the chaotic whole undying light, it can also be stronger. Luo Feng was quite satisfied. Whoosh! The black robe spread out, turning into an endless black river. The black river surged mightily, sweeping all around. Every drop of river water was a 24 forms unit, its binding force and imposingness much stronger. The world life form doesn't have a fixed shape. I can be humanoid, beast-shaped, or even a river, a star. Luo Feng was very clear on this point. Any shape constituted of basic life units was possible. With such strength, combined with the Star Tower, in the land of origin, who can be my opponent? Luo Feng suddenly felt a bit elated. Calm down, calm down. One step at a time. Having just mastered the 24 forms world life form, Luo Feng, according to the special grade inheritance description, gradually familiarized himself with the capabilities of this body, also contemplating how to deploy his numerous combat methods. Thunder Ancient Country. S-tilde-ea the novelfire.net ** website, on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After Luo Feng publicly reached the second realm of the Godly King, Mountain Sitting Guest also quietly broke through to the Godly King tier, but cultivating the primordial bloodline to become a Godly King did not cause any stir in the land of origin. Luo Feng has become a Godly King of the second realm. His strength should be much stronger than the Emperor of Tian Kuan. But to completely kill him and prevent him from reincarnating is still extremely difficult. Mountain Sitting Guest expressed his annoyance while sitting on his throne. From what I know, even if a monarch or an emperor takes action, the Emperor of Tian Kuan should still be able to withstand 1 or 2 strikes and manage to reincarnate. Among the 3 masters of the Shi Kingdom, Mountain Sitting Guest harbored the deepest hatred towards the Emperor of Tian Kuan. Without the Emperor of Tian Kuan, the other 2 masters of the Shi Kingdom also would not have destroyed his kingdom back then. Luo Feng only has one chance to act. Once we allow the Emperor of Tian Kuan to reincarnate, he will definitely hide his identity and not expose himself again. How long will it take for Luo Feng to grow to a level where the Emperor of Tian Kuan can't reincarnate? Although Mountain Sitting Guest was patient, he had been waiting for that day to come. He calmed Luo Feng and urged him not to rush. But within himself, he was constantly longing for that day, a fixation that had already penetrated deep into his soul. Mountain Sitting Guest closed his eyes and began to delve into cultivation again, exploring the primordial bloodline within his body. He could only temporarily forget the hatred through immersive cultivation. If he stopped cultivating, he would always think of the hatred, always remembering those haunting figures. Teacher. Suddenly, a voice came through causality. Mountain Sitting Guest was startled, stopped his cultivation, and responded with a smile, Luo Feng, what is it? Come to Huyang City. It is now time to act against the 3 masters of the Shi Kingdom. This transmission through causality felt like it struck Mountain Sitting Guest's soul. At this moment, his soul was trembling. Now it's time to act. As a Godly King, it took Mountain Sitting Guest a full 3 breaths to completely regain his senses. But at this moment, he felt as though he had ingested the most precious treasure, his soul in an unprecedented state of excitement. His thought processes were soaring, and his spiritual will was unprecedentedly concentrated. I'm on my way. Mountain Sitting Guest quietly responded and then immediately left the cave mansion, quietly rushing to Huyang City. Past meetings between master and disciple were generally in Xiangjie City, because it was close to the Thunder Ancient Country. But this time, Mountain Sitting Guest crossed half the land of origin, and quietly came to Huyang City. Mountain Sitting Guest quietly entered the city owner's mansion, and at a glance saw Luo Feng sitting high up in a tower, and he immediately flew over. Buzz. Luo Feng's world power had long enveloped the surrounding billions of kilometers of Huyang City, and the city owner's mansion was even more shrouded by Luo Feng's spiritual will. No powerful being in the land of origin could hope to break through Luo Feng's world domain and spiritual will to spy here. This spiritual will. Mountain Sitting Guest sensed the spiritual will surrounding Luo Feng, which even frightened him, vast as the sea, seemingly capable of annihilating him instantly. Teacher. Luo Feng, dressed in a black robe, smiled as he looked at him. This Luo Feng in black was in his 24 forms world life form true body. This action was of great significance for his teacher, Mountain Sitting Guest, and Luo Feng naturally went all out, eliminating all chances of accidents. Luo Feng. Mountain Sitting Guest looked at his disciple. The intangible aura brought by his disciple felt not a bit less powerful than the monarch of the Thunder Ancient Country. Teacher, please sit, Luo Feng said. Mountain Sitting Guest sat down, and then Luo Feng took his seat. You said in your transmission earlier that you could kill the 3 masters of the Shi Kingdom. Mountain Sitting Guest looked at Luo Feng. We shouldn't be hasty with this matter. Once we make a move, we must be able to kill them completely. Once we allow them to reincarnate and escape, we won't be able to find them again. I am confident that they will not be able to reincarnate, Luo Feng said. Even the Emperor of Tien Kuan can't reincarnate. Mountain-sitting guest asked again. Yes, Luo Feng nodded. Mountain-sitting guest suppressed his excitement, carefully pondered various possibilities, and asked, how can you accomplish this? Is it a powerful secret treasure? With the two ancient countries' ability to probe the past and future, deduce celestial patterns, if they find out you made the move, would they act against you because of the secret treasure? That's why when I make the move, I will change my appearance and breath, blurring causality, Luo Feng said. Even if they investigate the past, they can only trace the identity I've disguised. As for deducing celestial patterns, even if my identity is exposed, I am prepared. Why wait for this day? It's to wait until I am stronger than the Mother River Master and the Wind City Empress, all 5 of them. They have been able to live well under the threat of the two ancient countries, so Luo Feng is confident. Are you prepared? Mountain-sitting guest looked at Luo Feng. Although I really want revenge, the dead are gone, the living are more important. You are my disciple, who I watched grow up. We still have enough time, we can wait. Even with his anxious heart, mountain-sitting guest could still endure. Teacher, I will not use any secret treasures for this move, Luo Feng said. No secret treasures, and you can still kill the 3 masters of Shi Kingdom. Mountain-sitting guest looked at his disciple. Luo Feng nodded. At this moment, mountain-sitting guest realized that his disciple's strength had become terrifying, far beyond a normal emperor or monarch. Okay. Mountain-sitting guest's eyes seemed to ignite, fully prepared, then let's make the move. This video will end here.